That's a good start, Harsh. All right. Good morning, everybody. How's it going?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
Good, good. Asmat.
Good morning, everyone. I'm still waking up on the coffee. Well, I don't have any cycling plans today because it's cold and it's black ice this morning.
Yeah,
Just gonna, go through this podcast, and I have another podcast after this with another volunteer group that I'm part of. So excited to be here, meet everybody after a long
busy
time.
day for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Fred,
what.
welcome back from Uzbekistan.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Happy to be back here to Toronto.
Yeah. And Dan, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Amazing. Harsh, what are your plans, man?
My plans are do the podcast and relax, clean up around the house, and go to a friend's place for dinner.
Nice. That's
Yeah, how
nice.
about you guys?
Yeah, Arun, what are your plans?
Oh, sorry, I got disconnected for a moment. Nothing new, nothing crazy today, just the broadcast,
Yeah.
and watching Hannah. So Vinny's out, so I got the baby duty today.
Oh, well, she's not a baby anymore.
I know, but she still acts like a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Dan?
I'm hoping it warms up a little bit and maybe get out and do a little bit of work on the airplane for the day. And
Yeah.
it's kind of it fills any time I have.
Yeah, that must be a lot of fun.
It is. It's an adventure. It's doing something a little bit different every day. And, just working on whatever I've got parts to work on is where I'm at now. So it's moving
Yeah, and
along.
I'm guessing in the winter it's probably hard to be out there. So do you
I heat
bring
the
some of
garage.
it inside?
No, I got a heater out in the garage, so I
Oh,
run
do
a diesel heater. I go
Nice.
through about $100 a week in diesel just trying to keep the garage warm. So, it keeps things moving though. Otherwise, you lose 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
it's going up to like 10 this week, isn't it? It's supposed to get
Yeah,
warm
it's
later
getting
this week, I
Yeah.
think.
getting warmer. Yeah.
That'll be nice. That'll be nice. Get outside.
Yeah.
Maybe give her all the snow that's out there.
True, true. Okay, I think we can get started. So, welcome everybody. We are on episode 6 of EPM Coffee Chat, podcast all about Oracle EPM. We have a guest today, and no introductions needed, but still we'll go ahead and have Dan introduce himself. Then we'll talk about February 2025 updates and a few other topics around IPM Insights, data exchange, pipeline, Groovy, and we will end with a few of the upcoming EPM events in February. So Dan, we'll pass it to you to introduce yourself.
Perfect. So my name's Dan Gagno. I know everybody on the call, and I don't know any of the people watching because I can't see them. Um, I've been doing the CPM thing now for about 15 years, mostly focused on the planning, S-based space, a little bit of the FC stuff, but accounting gets boring, so I stay with the FP&A products. They're more exciting. I've been, traveling doing the conference circuit for the last 10 or so years. I'm an Oracle Ace Pro. Um, and I just kind of enjoy talking about and working with the product, seeing what we can do. I know Ruin tagged me with a couple of exciting updates, like a save button getting added to pipeline. I guess we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's the little things that keep us going, and it'll be interesting to kind of talk through some of those and look at what we can do. So glad to be here.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dan. So, one interesting fact, all of us in the call are Oracle Aces now. Harsh, you're not, yes,
No.
right? Yeah. So Harsh is one person we have to,
You need to
uh,
get it.
yeah, get him into the Oracle Ace program. Fred, congratulations! You got the Oracle Ace last month, I believe, or
Yeah,
yeah,
Congratulations.
January.
yeah, thank you. Thank you, Arun, for the support and everyone. Yeah, really appreciate it.
It's amazing. So once we have Harsh, this group, all of us will be Oracle. All right. You want to go to the next one? Yeah, okay. February 2025 updates. Who wants to run through this? I'll take one because I tagged everybody probably on that. Um, Two things on pipeline. One is the new EPM automate command for run pipeline. So basically, you can now execute the pipeline from EPM automate. I know a lot of people were waiting for that. There was a REST API, but not EPM automate command. So yeah, I'll take that one. I don't know who wants to go next.
Are we going to run through some of the details on each one, or just kind of talk
We
about?
can. So Fred, if you want, I can send you the link. I have the link. So if you want to,
Yeah.
Pipeline's got it's a big month for Pipeline. We're getting a save button. We're getting
yeah,
an API, and we're getting the new table views. So
yeah,
I don't know if you worked with any pipelines that have multiple stages, but they end up about this big,
Yeah.
and you use a magnifying glass to read them. We're getting table views, so you'll still be able to read all those. So big month for Pipeline.
I think that save button was an Achilles heel for pipeline for a long
I bring it
time.
up
Nobody
on the
liked it.
call with Mike every month. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to see that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm also waiting for like an option to create a duplicate of pipeline.
That's
hmm.
coming.
Yeah.
So it was mentioned on a call by somebody who I can't say we'll call it safe harbor, but it's coming. So we're gonna be able to copy them, and that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Maybe by the end of 2026. It's coming soon.
The other one I think was direct option to invoke a pipeline from a pipeline. So
Without having to run a business rule that calls the pipeline.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, true, true.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
All
another
right.
thing we had on the list is the Central of Excellence. I don't know, Dan, if you have experience with this, but now they also added AI. Um, I don't have experience with the Central of Excellence, but if you have any tips that you can share or any benefits, practical, like hands-on benefits that users
Yeah,
can get with this.
I haven't gone through what the new enhancements are here. There a lot of the COE Center of Excellence stuff that they have in here is a lot of information on how to set up and maintain a center of excellence, and a lot of guidance on how to run a center of excellence along with the documentation. I haven't taken a look at what they're adding with AI, but Oracle is investing very heavily in AI. I don't know if you've been on any of Mark Seawald's calls in the last
Yeah,
2 years, but specifically in the last month or so, he went through a lot of their AI roadmap and what they're doing.
yeah,
And they're investing heavily. There's a lot of features coming. We're getting multivariate analysis very soon. It's soon enough that they're starting to demo it to select clients. So it's real. It's coming. I'm excited about that one. I think that's gonna replace a lot of that bring your own ML stuff because really
right.
that's what people are doing with ML models, and now we can do it natively. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think Mark also suggested if anybody's interested, like the clients or customers are interested, they could reach out and,
yeah,
you know, do
yeah.
a,
So they've got it. They've got to you got to request it to enable it right now. I heard from another consultant that they've got it at a client enabled live. I don't know how
Hmm,
factual it didn't validate, but if you request it, you have the ability. I think you just got to justify the use case.
right, right. Yeah, I think the other one that I liked is the navigation flow reload button, which is coming. So you have that. I mean, it's a small change, but it helps.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
that's interesting that they put it there. I didn't read that one because it's already one item to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess you don't have to be on the home page anymore.
I don't know. I mean, I think you still have to be on the home. Maybe not, but
Yeah.
because the screenshot is probably the home page.
Is it being moved? Yeah, that's definitely the home page. Is it being
Yeah.
moved or is it being added? What do they say
It
here?
it is. So earlier we had the user name, and then you click on the
Yeah.
username. It has a
Yeah,
drop down. You click on reload navigation flow. I think they're moving it to that. I don't know, the navigation flow
yeah,
selector.
it makes more sense there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you have it all together.
Yeah, I was trying to just read through here. It doesn't say that if the other one's going away or not.
No, it doesn't say it's going away.
It'll be on the depreciation list or depreciated features list for 6 to 8 months, and then
Yeah.
it'll disappear.
And then they'll say they'll take away, and then they'll say, no, we're not taking it away.
We're not talking about reports here.
That's been on the list for like so long.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
someday it'll go away.
Well, yeah. I think they mentioned now that the date finalized. They said it's actually June 2025, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Is
Oh,
that
did
for
they?
the agents in the reporting or something different?
No, it's the
FR.
reporting studio.
Oh, a
The
studio.
web
Okay.
reporting studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's a big one.
It's
Yeah.
it's going away tomorrow for the last like 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know who uses it. It's a
Yeah, I don't know anybody.
it was just as good today as it was the day it was released.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right, right.
People still like the on-prem version.
Maybe
You like
it's
Excel 98?
is it kept just there because there are existing customers who use FR
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
want them to migrate, and I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's kind of like our S-based versioning migrating to hybrid S-based. They now forced everybody over. That's part of they're bringing in um, what version of S-based are they trying to bring in? The newer version of S-Base is coming to EPM, but they needed to get everybody on the same version of S-Base, the hybrid version of S-Base,
Right.
so that they could, get everybody on the same version to push it because there's some new functionality and new restrictions. So if people are getting errors saying there's errors in your outline that are warnings right now, it still refreshes, but there's things wrong. After
Hmm.
the next upgrade of S-Base, you're not going to be able to refresh unless you fix those things. So that's
Right.
the phasing there.
Don't we need hybrid for all of the predictive planning and IPM insights and stuff like that?
I don't know if that's as much a licensing thing or a hybrid BSO thing, but
Okay.
you do need hybrid BSO enabled in order to use IPM. I
Right.
imagine there's some sort of connection between the S-based version, but I think
Hmm.
some of that might be driven by getting people to move to newer stuff.
Yeah.
Anything released or anything built in the last, what, 4 years, 5 years? I want to say since 2019 has been defaulted to hybrid BSO, right?
Right. Right.
So it's just I got a client that deployed in 2016 that is, they still had workspace until a couple of years ago.
Hmm. The other update that caught my eye was the transient text data type. I didn't quite understand this, but it says it doesn't save in the database. Sorry, S-base.
Right. Yeah, this is one very
Text.
interesting. Not sure
Yeah.
how that will work.
It says text is not stored in the S space, right?
Yeah. So I'm not sure how it's being shown on the forms.
Because it's not being shown, they say it's not being stored in the relational database either.
Yeah, that's strange. Like I thought
Yeah.
text you can store in the database.
So right now, text is never stored in S-base. It just
Yeah.
stores a number, and then
Yeah.
it looks up that number in the relational database to display the text.
Text, yeah.
I don't know what this is. So using transient. Has anybody ever run into that out of memory error?
I
I don't
haven't.
No.
Okay. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
So
So I'm still not sure. Like it says displays the data as text without storing. I have no idea how this is done.
wonder if
How
they
do
like
they
store an LCM object for it or something.
Okay.
That'd be
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'll have to play with it. This comes out next week, right?
Yeah, next
Yep.
week. Friday. Yeah.
Oh, today's the 1st of February. We're already in February. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah. So my daughter was asking, is January over? I said, yeah. Oh, really? Yeah,
I
it's
thought it was
February
December
1st.
62nd.
Yeah, I think that the thread that you're highlighting is also a good update.
Yeah.
Drill into an ad hoc grid from Dashboard 2.0.
Oh, that's really nice.
I think there's another feature that we all talked about a lot in our previous podcast, which is the enhancements to the UI, the artifact library and everything. So there's a nice UI now. I don't know where
Yeah, I
that.
think it standardized them, right? They're all going to look the same now.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That,
Yeah.
is that coming this month?
Yeah. User
Yeah.
interface maybe.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yep, there it is.
Well, there's a
You can
nod.
tell I haven't had a chance to read through this update yet.
This
It's a
is your
big
chance
update.
to hear all the updates.
Yeah.
But it says in a standard interface available to all OCI Gen 2 environments. And our Cloud Classic environments default to the legacy interface, but have the option to enable the standard interface. Are people still on the legacy interface? I thought everybody's moved to Gen 2.
There's very few, and they had to have specific exceptions. And I believe some of the government pods were late to the party.
Right.
So if you're on government cloud, I think that is just now migrating over. I might be the other way around, but
Oh, yeah. So,
you had to have basically a reason to not do migration.
right.
Everybody's being forced over though. And by forced over, I mean it's better. Go there. There's no reason
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. For sure. Okay.
That'll be exciting. So I've seen that demoed before with the new UIs. I didn't realize we were getting it so soon though. I thought that was going to be a little further out. So
Yeah.
there'll be a bit of an adjustment for some people, but there's it'll be nice to make things a little bit more consistent.
Yeah.
Right. So is this coming to the jobs page as well, or is it already available in the jobs?
Have you looked at jobs in PCM?
No, I haven't.
So there's an entirely new job console that was released in EPCM. It was released there first, but you actually have the ability to see a lot of things that we don't normally see, like who
Yeah.
ran it and how long it took, and
Right.
sort them, those important things that we're looking for in the job console. So that's out in EPCM. It's been there for, I want to say 6 months or so. And it's
Oh,
coming to planning as well. So there is a new job console. You can play with it if you deploy an EPCM pod and kind of get an idea for what it is. There may be enhancements that change as it goes into planning, but we're going to get that in planning, and then it'll go out to FC as well.
so in the PCM, do we have the option to, like, in Data Exchange, you have the option to download the log file just by clicking on the three buttons on the right of the integration job. Do we have such feature in the PCM? Like, you have the job
You
details.
mean you want application logs?
Yeah.
I can put on an Oracle hat for a second and ask, why do you need that?
I don't need to go into the job, right? Click on the job, go into the job, and then
Oh, you just want like the job log, like if you write a
Yeah.
Groovy log to it. You don't want the application logs, like the S-based logs.
No,
I mean,
just
you
the
do.
job.
Please say you do.
Yeah.
I've been trying to convince Oracle we all want them. So I don't remember. I didn't spend a lot of time in it.
Okay.
I don't think there was.
Yeah.
I can look.
It's interesting why they started with this new job console in EPCM, not planning.
Because EPCM had just rolled out, so they could put all the new features they wanted, and no one could complain.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Because it's new, so it's going to replace whatever's there. There could be bugs, so put it in the new product, and it's just part of the new product bugs.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm taking a look at it now, and I've got a pod. I don't think I can share it because it is a client pod, a production pod, but I'll answer that question for you, assuming.
And is EPCM like part of the enterprise licensing, right? Or
Yeah.
somebody? Okay.
Yes, EPCM is part of enterprise licensing.
Enterprise, yeah.
So I'm looking at it right now. It's got a nice search bar. It's got all of the filters, so you can filter by status complete or start time or job type. And if you hit job type, it gives you, all the different job types.
Mhm.
And I wish I could show you. Is there anything? Nah, I can't show.
Funny that I'm doing the same thing, logging in just to double check.
But you can click the job ID. In one click, you get the log.
Oh, there's an actions export. It probably puts it to the inbox outbox somewhere.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, you get it all in Excel. I just downloaded it. Yep.
Okay.
I just realized that the other jobs I was looking at were all called export job console. So yeah, you get the ability to export it, so you can, and it's all right there. And did that go to when I downloaded that? Did that give it to me, or did it put it in the inbox? I think it put it in the inbox.
Yeah, it did.
But you can grab it from Job Console just by hitting the download button on the job.
Good.
So,
Good. Yeah, I
that'll
hope
be
it
nice.
comes to
Can't wait.
Yeah, planning an FCC
You
soon.
can, right on the first page though, when you load the job console, I'm gonna take a screenshot. I can share a screenshot if I just filter this a little bit. Or can I share my screen?
Yeah.
If I filter it like that, you're all gonna see my email address, but I can live with that. I think, yeah, I think it was on the first page of this presentation, so. Share. Screen one. Did I hit that? Oh, one more share button. I'm used to Teams, it's one less button. So this is a kind of a screenshot here.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you can, where's my mouse? I hate when I do this. There it is. So here, if you click here, that'll take you right to the job detail. That's a link.
Oh,
Like right on the first page, you can see who ran the job, how long it took, what time it started. You know, all the information we really want to know about a job.
Yep.
mhm.
Right.
It's on the screen now. You don't have to click it. And then you got all the filters up at the top. So the job type, the status, the start time, end time, you can bring those up as filters, and they're a little more clear.
Nice.
So it's a pretty good improvement. I'd say that's a big improvement for Job Console.
Yeah.
It is interesting that the duration shows as 0, 0, 0, 0,
It
0.
was look at the time on those jobs. They were 0-second jobs.
Yeah.
One of them ran for a second.
1 second.
This is a development environment that has nothing running in it, and we're exporting the Job Console. So
Yeah.
no, that's good. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
so I'm guessing you could also search on the search, you could also search by username, maybe.
I can test that for you. Yes.
Yep.
I
Okay.
just typed my name and it filtered that list down to one item. So
Yeah. So I think it's such a good improvement.
it's huge. It's an area we spend a lot of time. Also, all of those fields are sortable. So if you
Yeah.
want,
Yeah.
you can sort them either direction.
Yeah.
You want to see oldest jobs, newest jobs.
Right. Right.
That's
I
Yeah.
wonder if the search, like how how back it goes, like if it searched something that someone ran like last year in January or something, but I think
it's probably going to give you anything that's in the job console. So I think the job
Yeah.
console stores 90 days.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
90
90
days.
days is what most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can download the job console as well. So we've got EPM Automate jobs that'll automatically download the job console every month, just so we have that for historical reference as well. So yeah, that's a cool feature. I'll stop
Yeah.
sharing here. We can bring that back up. But yeah, that's what the new UI is going to look like for a lot of stuff with the ability to just search. I'm excited.
Right.
Yeah.
There's that US government environment's migrating. So
Yeah.
Right. And I just checked this in tax reporting, they added IPM Insights, and over here at the bottom they say that IPM Insight works with applications with hybrid S-base, and then the first item is requires EPM Enterprise Cloud Service subscription.
Yeah.
So
all tax apps have hybrid, are they not? Tax came out after hybrid was forced.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess this is general support. Oh, that's tax. Huh. I don't know if you can deploy a tax app without hybrid S-base.
So Dan, have you worked with TRCS at all?
In that it's been deployed on projects that I was working on, yes. In that I've logged in and done configuration, no.
Okay.
So we've got, I mean, Huron's a really large team, so we've got people that specialize in tax,
Yeah.
and they understand the, actual tax bits of it. I understand the technology. I don't understand what we're actually trying to do with tax. So we let those guys do the configuration. Tax actually had a lot of enhancements in the last month, but we've run into some roadblocks on tax that like it fails a DR copy. So when we do an LCM, we do a clone every night for DR. So kind of a hot spare, I call it, not really a DR, but a hot spare. It fails every night on the S-base refresh after import. But if you go in and refresh it again, it's fine.
Okay.
So it fails the refresh on the clone, but the database actually refreshes. There's no error with the database. So little things like that. But it gives you a status of failed, which is really annoying because you can't get a full green DR copy.
Yeah.
But we've deployed it at a few places now.
Nice.
And I guess tax people like it. I don't know what tax and accounting people what
Yeah.
gets them excited. But yeah, it's out there. It's doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one, Fred. Auto
This one.
predict can now run when the last historical period data values. And I never knew this was an issue.
Yeah, the same.
So you could skip a period, it just couldn't be the last period.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting. There's another feature I noticed on here yesterday. I was demoing this. Oh, it's in the I'll show you when we get an IPM later, but there's
Yeah.
an extra button.
Yeah.
Oh, you can the charts in IPM, you can now click a button and it'll show you add the historical data or remove it.
Oh. And maybe it's a good time to switch to IPM, Fred, maybe.
Yeah, let's go. I'll
Yeah.
stop sharing.
Anything else in the updates?
There are a few on FCC. I think there's like a year to date, you can input data, I believe.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, enable year to date data input in forms.
And just some additional operation commands that added to
Okay.
export and set EJ journals.
There's an update on REST API. I think it's a URL format.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's a space
Required for
in
space
the
here.
parameter that you're passing, you need to now put like %20 to indicate the space, I guess.
Okay. I'm kind of surprised that wasn't already required.
Yeah, because in all of the ERP stuff, it is
Yeah.
definitely required.
It's part of a web URL, right? You can't put a
Yeah.
space in a web URL. So
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
I wonder if it was just automatically being converted and I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
PowerShell
Yeah.
might
Could be.
I usually use PowerShell or either PowerShell or CalcScript if I'm using
Yeah.
API, but generally tell people not to put spaces in things. Use
So
underscores.
I saw something strange. Fred, if you could go back to that pipeline update.
Which one? Table?
This is good. Can you scroll down? Where does it show you see applies to account reconciliation? And I was like, is pipeline coming to account reconciliation? Then I went and checked account reconciliation. There's no mention of pipeline. I'm like, this is just a typo, maybe.
Yeah.
Just list all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one other thing I just wanted to highlight, maybe many people know, but so they said they will they will support Forms 1.0 and Dashboard 1.0 from June 2025.
I get getting rid of Forms 1.0, but Dashboards 1.0 is going to be a bigger impact because I know a lot of people, there's some stuff in Dashboards 1.0 that looks a lot better than Dashboards 2.0.
Yeah.
So I could imagine that one getting pushed back.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. Like the gauges, I don't know if you've used the gauge type in 2.0 versus 1.0. They don't make sense in Forms 2.0. It's like a full circular gauge that's partly filled in versus being a needle that points to where it's at. It
Yeah.
seems small, but it the first time I put it out, I'm like, this isn't giving me any information. If that's my first thought, I imagine the customer's thought as well. So
Yeah.
I'll be surprised that if I like moving towards the future. Maybe that means they're going to enhance and give us more options on 2.0, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or Dashboards 3.0 is coming. I don't know.
One will become two will become three.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
I think, yeah, there's some minor updates on account reconciliation, like, you can store files in object storage or attachments in transaction matching. I think the default export from some of the screens will be XLSX instead of XLS. Yeah, few minor improvements. And I think some of the search options in transaction matching and account reconciliation, they're saying that there's improvement in performance when you do the search.
Yeah.
I have not spent a lot of time in ARCs.
Yeah, it's my my forte. I love configuration.
Nice. But I know we're using it for data validation. Take old data, new data, use ARCs to validate it in the middle.
Yeah.
It's hard to move data between ARCs and planning and stuff, though. It's you basically got to pull a report from ARCs and then import it like a flat file, right?
Yeah, so one of the questions I asked Tim is like, all the reports in ARCs, it doesn't give you like normal PDF file or Excel file. It gives you a zip file. Then you extract the zip file, get the file out. I don't know why they're doing it, but if they
We've
just
got an unzip command in pipeline.
yeah. Get the zip, unzip it. Yeah, that's true.
Guys, I have to drop for another podcast, but it was nice seeing
All
everybody.
right,
Good to see you
thanks,
too.
Asmat.
Thank you, Asman.
Hi.
See you around.
All right, do we switch to IPM now?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So have you guys had a good chance to play with IPM and actually, deploy
I
it anywhere, work on some use cases, anything, or?
I have played around. I have not done a lot of implementations work, but played around myself just to get a feel for it.
Okay. I've done the intro to IPM presentation at Kscope, Ascend. I did it at UKOUG this year. I've done it on a couple of webcasts. So I think most of my experience with IPM is demoing IPM at this point. But we've deployed it for a few customers. We just wrapped up a project at an analytics company, we'll call it that, where they implemented IPM to do some analytics. They're also using auto predict for some of their planning functionality.
Yeah.
So we're seeing more adoption. We got a lot more people asking about it. So it's good. And I think once we add multivariate to auto predict, it's gonna fly off the shelf. So
Yeah.
by fly off the shelf, I mean everybody that has EPM Enterprise already owns it, so you don't need to buy it. You just gotta implement it. So
Right. Yeah.
so do you want to talk about kind of what you've done, or do you want me to pull it
Yeah.
up? Take
I,
a look.
I was going to ask you, like, for people who don't know IPM Insights, how would you introduce IPM Insights to them?
So I like to take a look at it as the AI aspects of EPM, and I like to look at we've got a walk, run, crawl, and a fly methodology, right? So the walk is predictive planning. Predictive planning's been out longer than I can remember. It's probably been out for 10 years. In that 10 years, I know about 2 people that have used it, and none of those were in production. Actually, let me open up. As I talk through these things, I'm just gonna show what they are. Where'd my share button go? It's right in the middle of my screen. Share screen, share. So this is the aptly named Dan's demo. It's where Dan builds demos. So I'm going to open up a data form here. This is a kind of some randomish data, but it's great for predictions and stuff. So I've got a predictive planning form. Predictive planning this is your walk of the AI inside of EPM. It's been there forever. This is a kind of some products and countries, regions, stuff like that. You have the ability of, I'm looking at data for 23 through August. I've got a bunch of blank cells. You can go into actions, hit predictive planning. It's going to run a prediction. It's going to give you all of that, and then you can paste these values. I'm just going to do currently selected member, drop those in on your form really easily, kind of enter that data, save it, utilize your form. The problem with this is even if you've trained users, they're just going to enter the number they want to use.
Yep.
Because users don't like relying on something that took a couple of clicks. I know exactly what I'm doing on this form, and it's built very specifically to demo that. And it was still about 6 clicks for me to do that, right? So it's users they just don't do it. I've asked rooms full of people, and nobody's ever admitted to using this in production. So that's it. It's useful. I like it. It's pretty. And the interface is improved, where I can now click around here, and it's going to automatically update these things, but nobody's using it. So that's your walk. The next thing that Oracle did, and this is going to ask me to save, I want to discard those, was adding auto predict and the IPM features. So IPM was added all at once. IPM is where the most of the rest of the AI features live. So we've got insights, auto predict, and the bring your own ML models living in here. So I call auto predict your run, so or your walk. Sorry, the last one was crawl. Now we're into walk. Auto predict is your walk, and you have the ability to do a lot more with it. So it uses essentially the same engine as predictive planning, but now we're running on wider data sets with a lot more options and configurability. And we're also automatically saving this data somewhere. So it's not just showing it to you, it's creating the data.
Yeah.
We have the ability to do this factoring in events. We have calendars, so we can parameterize it a little bit. But if I open up, this is just an auto predict here with some random data. You can select a calendar. I'll show you kind of what kind of options we have there, but you define a slice. So I'm looking at predicting this account across these entities and departments. I want to store it to a base prediction scenario or a best case or a worst case scenario. So you can store it to multiple different scenarios. This doesn't have an autosave, so I can change this to all the people adding autosave features to EPM. You have options. You want to override your seasonality. You want detected seasonality. What do you want to do with data screening? So this is where you were saying we're now going to have the option to kind of ignore if the last value was blank, but we can adjust outliers, fill in missing values, factor in events that are defined. This is huge. And then kind of what methods are you looking? I've got seasonality on here. So do I want to include non-seasonal methods, or I can just exclude the non-seasonal methods and that'll speed it up a little bit, but maybe I want to include them because they're a better fit anyway. So you got a lot of options to configure, and then you can run these on a schedule. You can have it run on different intervals. You can and store that data somewhere. So my favorite kind of use case for this is to take this data, roll it up a level or so. So you're not looking at the lowest level data. Predictions don't work really well on low level data because there's a lot of variability in super low level data.
Hmm.
But if you look at something like telecom expense, and you do that by a country, you're probably going to get a pretty good prediction. If you do telecom expense by facility, it's not going to be great, but it should give you a prediction that gets you pretty close to like your high level assumption. And then if you compare your bottom up assumption against that, it's a really good target to see, did we totally miss something? Or did we're showing a lot more cost here. Is there a reason that's driving that? Insights is going to actually tell you that, but predictions are going to give you a target to compare to. And I think it's a really cool kind of next step.
So
Insight.
Dan, I had a question.
Yep.
Can we use auto predict with any cube, or I can see it says plan one. Is there any restrictions on which cube we can use?
It has to be a BSO, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
I wonder, can it be an ASO? Let's see here. If I go to define slice, that box, yeah, it has to be a BSO. So there's an ASO in this. There's only 2 cubes in this plan
Okay.
type, but it has to be a BSO.
And it does work with custom cubes. It doesn't
Yeah,
have,
this is a custom, plan 1 is a custom
Yeah.
cube here. So this is a non-modules app. It works in free form as well.
right.
So you can use this in free form. You can use it in modules apps, or you can use it in custom apps. But it
The
has
other question, Dan, was you showed events as one of the option that you could select.
yeah.
Can you
So
explain to us like what events mean?
yeah, so when you're working with auto predict, you're going to create a calendar. Back in the early days of auto predict, each auto prediction you defined, you had to define the time range, the current period, the historical periods, the future periods. You defined this all on the previous screen. You still have the option to do that if you want, but now we have calendars. So you can say, I've got a calendar. This is my base calendar. It's applicable to cube 1. My time dimension is year and period, and those are the members within year and period that make up my time dimension. My current period is, in this case, FY23 Jan. So if I update this, it updates all of my current periods at once. How many historical periods I want to look at, you can edit that. But also, you can define events to go with that. So do you guys remember 2020? There was this thing that happened. It was kind of a global thing. Worldwide pandemic. We didn't go to work. It was a whole thing. That threw off data for a lot of companies, believe it or not. The people that were selling things stopped selling them. So that had a pretty big effect on historical data trends. Unfortunately, and I mean there was a lot of downsides to the pandemic, but a big one was that predictive planning was really starting to kick off, and people were starting to get really good data, And then we threw this right in the middle. So when it came 22, 23, and we were starting to look at doing predictives again as people were coming out of the pandemic, all their data was a disaster for the last 2 years. So you had to do a whole lot of data cleansing. Events kind of does that cleansing for you. So here you can see I've got an event flagged as a worldwide pandemic, one-off event, right? Knock on wood, one-off event for worldwide pandemic. We actually started seeing impacts of the pandemic in as early as January 2020. I know the lockdowns started in March, but the impact started in January. And in some businesses, it lasted a year or so. In a lot of businesses, you see that in the data up to 2 years as they were starting to ramp back. Some businesses even longer, some businesses probably more permanent, but you can flag these as data sets or events, and then that will automatically account for that in your data. And it doesn't have to be something like a pandemic. Another thing that we see often is holidays. I do a lot of work with retail companies, and I don't know if you're aware, but Easter is not on the same week every year. It moves around within about a 6 week window. Easter moves back and forth depending on the year. So we have to flag that in the data as a recurring event and move it around. And events gives us the ability to do that. So it's a really powerful feature to enhance those predictions and get more accurate predictions. So um, once this came out, the Insights was probably the thing I was most excited about in the last 2, 3 years on the AI side of planning. Events is my number two. This was huge. Number one is it's about to get bumped to number three because multivariate analysis is going to become number one, but it's not out yet. So this is still number two.
Right. Okay.
But this really made a huge impact. We had a couple of clients in the retail industry. We were doing analysis, and we usually do these as pilots or POCs, and you're running an auto predictive. I got a software update that's due. We'll snooze that. We do auto predicts for future data, so we want the most amount of data. And to tell how accurate we are, the only thing we have to compare against is their bottoms-up forecast that they did manually or their budget. And we're seeing auto predict at high levels hit within 5%. So you're getting 95+% accuracy on a prediction versus the bottoms-up forecast that 50 people spent 6 weeks writing. So it's really cool to see that kind of accuracy in
Yeah,
the events.
that's huge time savings.
What was that?
I'm saying that's huge time savings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's even if you're just calling it a target,
Yeah.
it gives people an idea of if they're there or not.
Right.
Obviously, the bottoms up's going to have detail. Predictions are not going to know things like if you've got a major marketing campaign or product release, the prediction has no idea. You got to account for that kind of stuff, but
Right.
it's really cool what it does.
Yeah. So you can build like a baseline for it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just take like total, I like to, run an auto predict against your gross revenue or your net revenue line, maybe your G&A cost lines, stuff that's a little higher. Telecom expense maybe a little bit lower, maybe total travel expense, depending on the year, maybe you can do some of that. Um, there's a lot of lines that you can kind of auto predict on. Some of them don't make sense, but there's a lot of spots you can do it, and it's going to vary by what your business is doing. So.
Yeah.
And even as a start, you could just save these off in a different version just to get started and compare it to
Yeah.
what your actual forecasts are, right?
Absolutely. That's how I recommend people start. I don't want people relying on it for their forecast in their first iteration because you don't know what kind of variance it's going to have, especially for your business, what the differences are. So I may hit 100% for the last three customers and then come in and do yours, and we're at 50% because your business model is non-predictable.
Yep.
Maybe you're too high a growth, too rapid of an expansion, or maybe you're too stable and the growth that you had for the last 5 years is no longer real. So
Yeah.
I like to use it as a target. Absolutely. Save it off in another version. The best case and worst case scenarios I see they seem a little overstated. So like your best case is 50% better than base and worst case is 50% worse. So it's a really wide funnel when you start bringing those in. But that base case I find is pretty tight.
With this events, then like in your example, you have this COVID. Can you define, how what kind of decrease you'll have or what kind of increase you'll have depending on
No,
the type
so
of.
you're essentially flagging the data as anomalous,
Mhm.
and then the model will automatically figure out how anomalous it is. So you don't need to figure that out.
Oh, I see.
And can you define different, like segment your data for these events? Like, for example, you can put a longer time period in one country and a shorter one in another.
So you can't directly, and that's where we get into multiple calendars.
Yep.
So we have clients that are global, and say Canada and China are two good examples. Or Canada, China, the US, three very different approaches to how COVID was handled. And I use COVID because it's everybody understands it.
Yep.
But three very different ways it was handled. So you might have a calendar that's your Canada calendar, your US calendar, and your
Hmm.
uh, China calendar, and apply each of those to your predictions. And just when you define your slices for the auto predicts, just limit it to those countries. So you have calendars specific to those.
Makes
So
sense.
you can't define it here to tie it to a metadata member yet. We'll see what happens. It'd be nice if we can. Maybe that's a feature that's coming someday. But you can do it by splitting your calendars and your predictions up.
Perfect.
And I say you can have repeating events. So you're going to have anomalous data that you don't want washed out either. So back to my retail example, Black Friday, we see a spike for like 3 days in sales or a week in sales. We want that spike every year. So you want to flag that as a repeat event so that it doesn't get washed out of the data as an anomaly. So sometimes you want those events to repeat. So
Yeah.
that's the other place we see them used. Once you have a prediction, though, you can start to do insights. I don't know what this, oh, I got an annotate button that's blocking my IPM button. I don't think you can see the annotate button though, because it's part of Zoom. Um,
No, it.
yeah, once you get into an auto predict, you have some scenarios, then you can build insights on them. And insights are pretty cool. I'm just going to click on this one here just to bring up the screen. With insights, we have three different types of insights that you can build that are each kind of targeted at different data sets. I don't know if the names are perfect, but the forecast variance and bias insight is going to compare a historical forecast against closed periods. So if you did a forecast for Q1 and now we're sitting in Q2, so you've got actuals for Q1, this is the insight that's going to take a look at that forecast, take a look at your actuals, and look for why you missed forecast. Where were the big differences between forecast and actuals, and what kind of trends is it seeing? It's going to give you some of that information. I'll show you some of these in a minute, what they actually look like.
Yeah.
The next one is prediction insight. This is probably my favorite. This is going to compare your forecast that you're working on against the prediction scenario that you've created and
Hmm.
show you where you're totally missing the boat or where it thinks you're missing it. And again, I said you might have a major product release that it does not know about. So you expect it to be different. So it'll flag that and you can say, yeah, that's supposed to be different. But it shows you where you might have just totally missed some variables or something that just never even made it into the list. And that's what prediction insights. I think that's the most powerful of the three. The third one's anomaly insights. This is we just closed a month and we've got some variances. What about last month was different than every other month? And it's going to flag those anomalies. Maybe you got a really big spike in some revenue somewhere or a big spike in cost. It's going to flag those individual line items for you and give it to you in a kind of a presentable way. There's some settings and stuff that you can define on that. I don't want to get too much detail. I'd rather show you what it looks like. So if we go in here, and let's say we got, again, this is that new interface. We can search and filter. So
Yeah.
if I hit, type, I get a drop down. I can see anomalies, variances, and stuff like that. This is that interface we were talking about earlier that we're going to have everywhere. Kind of excited to see that. But here we can see we've got some high impact items. There's 60%. I'm looking at forecast variance. So when I built this data, my forecast was just a 60% increase on my actuals in order to flag it for this demo.
Yep.
If we take a look at any one of these, they're going to be pretty similar looking. But you can see it's flagged that you've got that difference there between those two automatically. These are, scalable charts. You can open this data into an ad hoc automatically. So there's my forecast, there's my actuals. If I hit ad hoc, it takes me directly into an ad hoc grid at that intersection. So I can continue to analysis. Hopefully your actual final scenario is not editable like mine, but it will take you there and let you kind of drill through and give you that. So this is going to take you and kind of open up that grid that you were trying to find as an analyst. This is step one of any forecast analysis, right? Is find the variance.
So
Now,
this would save a lot of time for analysts from doing that initial legwork, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it not only that, but it also not only they had to do that legwork on their own, they looked at it, they found an
Yep.
issue. Now you can also comment on that.
Mhm.
So we've got, this is a thing.
Yep.
And it will comment that. We can tag this and be like, oh, this is product two. So I tag that with a hashtag. Now I've got a
Yep.
product two category that I can filter on later. Or I can say, Arun needs to look at this. And Arun is by user accounts here, EPM user. Arun is EPM user 7. That's your new name. So I need you to look at that. I can tag that to you, and now that's going to show up in your list of things you need to do. Obviously, if this was a real deployment, those would be names, not numbers, but it's really cool, really easy to do that. You can dismiss the insight, throw a comment on it if you want. And then once you start tagging those back in this window, we
Yep.
have the ability to filter on those. So I typed in product two, I thought it was one. That's going to bring up all insights. Ironically, this is product one is I typed product two in the comment, but it'll bring that up, or I can click my insights. It's going to give me anything that was tagged to me. So it gives you some workflow around that as well. So not just giving you the data and giving you the ability to action on it, but giving you the ability to kind of collaborate on it as well.
Yeah.
Very easily natively built into the tool. You don't have to bring in another piece to do that.
Yeah, pretty cool. This is awesome.
Yeah. I'll look at anomalies real quick. So here's an anomaly. We got what's this? We're 141% lower than the periodic average, and it will bring that out and it will show
Yep.
that data. You're going to see a lot of anomalies, smaller product categories or smaller groupings will obviously be more anomalous. So maybe you want to target this a little bit higher, but here we're seeing we got a spike here in this window. This is a revenue. It's a very negative revenue. There must have been, big returns that month or something. Maybe there was a product recall that we want to look at, something like that. So
Right.
there's there's data there, an anomaly. And then I want to look at prediction insights because they're my favorite. So here we're looking at a prediction versus forecast. So you can see we've got our base prediction there. It's a nice little flat line. And then we've got our forecast with a big spike up and down. And that's what it's calling out here is that we've got forecast. It's specifically calling out this lower bullet here. You can see 165% lower.
Yep.
Calling that out for me here. I have the ability now, this is that new feature I was saying, show the historical data, show me the trend that got there. So there's my trend. Why is my forecast doing that? Maybe you don't want to see the trend, make it look a little mystery. You have the ability to override that number here. So, I got 40K in my base prediction and I dropped down to 12. Maybe that was supposed to be 120. You can enter that there and save that directly into your forecast. Put a comment if you want. That 120 is going to be a big spike the other direction. I think I put 12K actually. I might have missed a zero. We'll see. But you can automatically update that and stare at it updating. Live demos.
Yeah.
But you can you can update that. You can open this up in an ad hoc.
Mhm.
But this is, your base prediction is your target, where it thinks you should be. This is pointing out those major variances. And this is what you do during budget review, right? So you going through a budget process. Somebody's looking for all the things that are a little anomalous and they're buried. It's really easy to, I call this the sand detector.
Yeah.
It's looking for all the sand that's sitting in the budget and it's automatically pulling it out for you. So this is
Yeah, I
a
think
really cool feature. I think there's a lot of power here. I think everybody should be using some variation of this, at least at key lines.
yeah.
And again, there's some approach things. Maybe it doesn't make sense at a super low level. What we've done to some customers is if their data's, you have to do this at a stored level. So we'll create stored members that are a little bit higher and just populate those kind of like an aggregation,
Yep.
and run the insights and the predictions at that level against those members so that we can get this type of analysis. I also don't like letting people update their forecast directly the way that I just did because it bypasses business rules.
Yep.
For now, we'll see where that goes. I'm gonna just reload this pod real quick.
So Dan, that show historical data kind of helps you to see the historical data and then look at the anomaly and make a decision, right?
Yeah, so before you could only see, and let's open this, not that is prediction, sorry. That's what I want. Open up a different one. I'm just so that it's different. Well, that one's obviously a spike there. Or this is it says I'm filtered on predictions. That looked like an anomaly to me.
Yeah, it looks like
This is how it was before until I just noticed this yesterday. So I don't know when this button showed up, but you can't really tell why the prediction is
Yep.
where it is. All you have is the prediction. Also, I have actual data for part of the year here. So if I hit show historical data, apparently this one I don't have actual data for part of the year, but you can see that trend, and maybe that helps explain some of those anomalies. So you
Yeah.
can see we were high earlier, and now we're kind of working back toward being higher. That's going to be outside of that helps
It's my
inform
screen,
that
but I
decision
think I see a
making.
little bit of orange peeking through on the current year side. So it might just be that it is showing the actual, but it's hidden behind the forecast.
Yeah, I don't see it. I'm pretty sure I have actuals in here for these first few
Yeah.
periods.
yeah.
Yeah, because forecast here
Yeah,
is
exactly.
lines overlap.
That's what I figured. Yeah. So it's probably the same and just being hidden
Yep,
behind that line.
you're absolutely right there. You can see it over here where it peaks out.
Yep.
The the line trends has to bend, so
Yep.
the forecast line moves a little lower. Have actuals and forecasts at the same month. This forecast might, I mean, this could be a budget comparison where we don't have them.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, I'm, I think this is the most my Oracle hat. That's my FP&A geek hat saying I think more people need to use
Yeah.
this. So
For anybody to use IPM Insights, are they
it's you really need 2 years of trend to get data to predict. But with insights, you don't necessarily need 2 years of data because I don't. Also, you can system. This is designed to compare a predicted scenario against a forecast scenario, but you pick where that predicted data is. So what you could actually use this is you compare a budget to a forecast, or maybe target the system and tell it it's predicted data. Because when you're running the insight, it will auto predict, but it doesn't have to.
Right.
So you have that option. So my insight jobs right now are actually built purely as insights. I run my predictions separately, mostly because I like to demo some of the reporting that comes out of it. But this insights job is not running a prediction. So I'm just saying, actually, it's not running a prediction. And it's saying, yes, I have my predicted data. When I define my slice, I'm telling it this is where my predicted data is. In this case, that is predicted data.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be. So that removes that data restriction. But when you're running anomalies, you don't need 2 years of history to run an anomaly. You can run an anomaly on the current year and just look at the current year's data. It helps. It'll be more precise the more you have, but you don't have to have it.
Yeah. Okay.
It also, your data doesn't need to be perfectly clean. That's another thing that we see a lot is, our data is not clean. We're not super confident in it. Well, it's a pilot. We're not replacing your forecasting methods. We're giving you another angle, another way to look at it. Your data doesn't need to be perfect for that. And with the events and some of the cleaning that's built in, you're probably in a good state anyway.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
IPM is awesome. Everybody should use it. Start using it now.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so
And
we
if
talked
you want to
about
know more, let me know. I could spend hours talking about this. I know we got to
yeah,
a couple
I was
other
gonna say we
topics,
talked
but
about the crawl and the walk.
the IPM is the run.
Yeah.
So Insights is the run.
Mhm.
the fly is that's coming soon. That's our multivariate
Yeah.
predictive planning, or the bring your own ML. That's the fly, and that's where we're going to see some really, really, I want to say accurate predictions or more insightful predictions. I don't try not to use the word the insight with prediction there, but I think we'll see some insightful analysis once we get that. That that's I'm told.
That one. Okay, we switched. Do we talk about, so Dan, I had specific questions on EPM integration agents.
Mhm.
I know you've done a couple of, maybe more. For somebody who,
Yeah.
we obviously have connectors connecting to, Fusion ERP, PeopleSoft, NetSuite, and things like that. And most of the times, you generate a flat file-based integration. Maybe we can start with explaining why would somebody, look at EPM integration agent as a tool?
EPM integration agent opens the door to more direct, faster, cleaner, more secure integrations to virtually any database type. So it was kind of, and often said as, this is how you connect to your on-prem data sources. This is how you connect to any JVDC compatible data source. So I've built integration agent. So you deploy integration servers inside server sitting in the other room running EPM agent so that I can demo
Yeah.
stuff sometimes. But it's your way of using to bring the data directly into Data Exchange. So we're not replacing Data Exchange. We still need to use Data Exchange. Just now we're using Data Exchange to maintain queries instead of files. At the end of the day, it runs a query. The query generates a flat file. The flat file is imported into Data Exchange. So, I mean, that still happens. You just don't see it anymore. And it allows the EPM to become I don't want to say the controller of the data, but EPM determines the timing of the data. So I don't have to wait for a file to drop and then wait and build a file watcher, which I don't know if you guys have ever worked with file watchers. They're a pain in the butt. That means you're either constantly scanning a directory every 30 seconds to see if a file's there, or you're using a third-party software to do that. It's not easy to work with. I can now build a pipeline, and the first step in the pipeline is run my query and give me my data. I don't care if it's already dropped or not. I'm just going to go pull it. So it works that way. And then as great as that is, I think even better is when we use it for drill through. Because when you do a drill through, that query is generated by the user. There's a lot of bind variables that are tied into that query. You configure it as an admin, obviously, but it's executed by the user, and the users essentially can directly query that data source, and it doesn't even need to be the same database that you got the data from. So I've got an SAP client, for example. We're not allowed to query the SAP database. I don't know if you've got any clients that let you do that, but if you do, you should tell them to talk to their InfoSec people. You can't directly query SAP, but often SAP has a replicated database somewhere with all the transactions in it.
Yeah.
So we load the data from SAP, and we actually load it via flat file. That's another story. Don't get me started. But we load the data via SAP from a flat file. But the user runs a query, and it runs a direct integration to that transaction table. So they can right click on any row record account and actually get the POs back that made up that line. And they do that all inside of Excel very seamlessly, and that's all enabled by agent. So it's a great tool. There's obviously some firewall concerns because if an agent is running, you have to be able to, the agent needs to be able to talk to the target and EPM.
Yeah.
If you're using it for drill through, the user actually sends the query directly to agent, not to the cloud. So your users need to be able to reach the agent server, which can sometimes be an issue. If you install your agent in synchronous mode, it's no longer an issue. So agent can be installed two different ways, synchronous or asynchronous. When it's asynchronous, it just sits there in EPM or the agent. We ping the agent directly. You hit the server. In synchronous mode, you got to set up a web proxy, and it makes it a little smoother. It's a lot more configuration, and depending on the client and the IT team, that can either be a really simple task because they're really good, or it can be a very complicated task if they don't know what a proxy is.
Yeah.
So it really opens up what you can do with data when you run with the agent, and it's simple to configure. If you know a little bit of SQL, you can do it. If you know how to talk to ChatGPT can write SQL for you, and that solves a lot of it too. So as long as you understand what it's trying to do, it's really cool. I agent is in my top 5 features added in the last couple of years, last 5 years for sure.
Yeah. Are there any, like, I know that it can also connect to cloud databases, right? Not just on-prem.
Yep.
In those cases, are there any additional skills like a EPM consultant would need? SQL is, yeah, I understand. Like,
Other than SQL, yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to talk to that database. If you've got a client that's using those data sources, there's probably someone there that can help you write those queries or tell you where that data is. And then you're just kind of filling in the variables.
Yeah.
But it's not difficult to connect. When you got to download a driver, so Snowflake, for example, you're going to download the Snowflake JVDC driver, JVDC or JDBC. Anyway, download the driver. And when you go to the page to download the driver, it gives you example syntax for the connection strings as well, and you just got to copy and fill in the blanks. So it's not an additional skill set that needs to be learned in order to do it. It's just a matter of going through and doing it. You'll learn it. You'll figure it out the first time you do it. Just like installing agent. Everybody's kind of afraid to install agent. It's one line of code to install agent. It's like EPM agent install space the name of the agent. Like it's that simple, but it's that installs it as a service.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's pretty cool.
Couple of questions on pipeline.
Yep.
What do you like about pipeline? What do you don't like about pipeline?
My favorite thing about pipeline, like I know my least favorite too, but my favorite thing about pipeline is the email logs.
Yeah.
The fact that I like that it connects things together. You can put workflow into it. You can give it some logic, but the fact it sends me an email at the end telling me my job failed or succeeded and attaches the logs.
Right.
Like how many lines of code was that in a PowerShell script?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Right. And now I don't need to worry about breaking my PowerShell script because it just works. It's just there. It's just a feature. My least favorite feature of pipeline is autosave. Autosave is great when it works perfectly, and autosave never works perfectly. I know it's going away in a week, but it's still there today, so I'm going to complain about it. But I don't know how many times I've worked on a pipeline, made 10 changes, and I close it and I come back and it didn't save 8 of those.
Yeah.
Or randomly it saves my email address as like a text box, like in one of the fields, like a variable field.
Oh, yeah.
My email address auto-populated in there. I'm like, why? It's not a password. It thinks it's a password field or something. It's like a mistagged field, but that's my least favorite feature is autosave. So I'm glad that's going away.
Yeah, me too. We all complain about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But it's
they
also
heard us. So that's
Yeah.
a good example of if you yell loud enough, somebody will listen.
But it's also this little tiny things, but it's at least me, it's annoying. Like when when you create a job and then you have to select business role or integration, you select the type of the job, and then there is a field where you can type in or select from drop down,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it automatically moves to the name
Yeah.
of the job, and
Yeah.
then you have to wait until it moves and then go back.
Yeah.
So it's
And it
little.
can't tell you the name of your runtime prompts for your rules.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
You know, they got to type it exactly to get
Yeah.
my runtime prompts right.
Yeah.
You can't do string manipulation on variables. So if you're
Right.
passing, like you select the month and the year because it's a data integration job, but then your business rule has 2 variables, one for month, one for year. You can't split that with string manipulation. So you either have to use Groovy and split it in the business rule or
Yeah.
pass 2 more variables.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So there's little things. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I'm hoping the table view solves some of what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got room for improvement, and I can see where it can go. But it's really gone a long way in the year it's been here. It's been, I guess,
Yeah.
2 years now, right?
2 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's come a long way. I'm seeing a lot more adoption.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
True.
Yep.
Now with the EPM automate command, I think a lot of people are happy about that one.
Yeah, the biggest limitation to pipelines is moving data from a server over. So you've still got to have a file upload, unless you're using agent. If you're using EPM
Mhm.
agent, there's no file upload. But you still want to upload a file. We got flat files. Everybody's got flat files. You can't upload a flat file with EPM agent, although you can connect to an FTP now or an
Yeah,
SFTP
FTP.
through a
Yeah,
pipeline. So
yeah, yeah,
it's there in a manner of speaking.
yeah. That's good. Yeah, I worked with a lot with Oracle Integration Cloud, the integration utility,
Yep.
and I can see that pipeline is similar features. You can string together different tasks and jobs and things like that. So hopefully it gets more conditional flow, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can only see it getting better.
Yeah.
Wait till they add AI and all we got to do is say integrate these two sources for me.
Yeah.
And then
Be
it'll
nice
be added.
if it does everything for us.
We got to remember to just learn to feed the robot.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was working on something the other day with a bunch of people, and we were using ChatGPT to try and wordsmith some stuff. And at the end of one of the lines, it gave me a line, and everybody in the room's like, "Oh, that's terrible. Make it tell it to do it again." And I said, "I'm sorry." I go to ChatGPT. I'm sorry, that's not quite what I was looking for. Can you do this? I'm like, "Why are you being so nice to it?" Because it's gonna own me someday. I want it to remember I was nice. But at the end, thank you for helping me out today. I hope you have a wonderful day. You got to be nice to ChatGPT. It's gonna be your boss someday.
I do that too. I say thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
I've
okay.
learned that if you tell it to have a good sleep, it just reminds you that it doesn't sleep. So, yeah,
Funny.
I like to be conversational with it.
Right.
All right. Okay. Any questions, Harsh and Fred? It seems like I've been asking all the questions. So.
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions for data exchange and EPM
Okay.
agent.
Groovy. I was going to ask questions about Groovy.
Yeah, for Groovy, I can probably start around in Harsh, but I was curious to see your view then with now having ChatGPT that you can utilize a lot and your like learning curve can be much
Yeah.
faster. What are your thoughts on or recommendations for anyone who would like to learn Groovy? Do they need to know like those programming languages like Java or
So Groovy is a Java, they call it a Java syntax compliant language. So that means
Mhm.
it looks like Java using different words. I think it's really important with ChatGPT, and I use Copilot, not GPT, just for company policy reasons. But it's great for getting some of the big picture stuff together. A lot of it doesn't understand the EPM context very well. But it'll also give you code that is not optimized for what you're doing. So you need to still understand the language, even if ChatGPT is writing the script for you, which please don't have ChatGPT write your entire script, but um, it will give you a really good foundation. But I think you have to understand the syntax and what it's trying to do in order to make it really meet your goals. I've seen a lot of people, they just try and ask ChatGPT and they plug that in, they run it. Ask ChatGPT, plug it in, and run it, and it doesn't fully understand the context or it doesn't know what you're trying to do. So you can go back and forth quite a bit to solve that last 5%. When really, if you just look at the code, it was probably one line that needed to be changed somewhere. So I think it's still important that people understand it. In terms of resources, how to learn it, I don't have the answer there. I know Kyle's got a great series of
Yeah.
trainings. I haven't actually used them, so I I say they're great because everybody tells me they're great, and I trust what Kyle's done. But he's probably got the best resource when it comes specific to EPM. Otherwise, just learning a little bit about Groovy. Groovy is used outside of EPM. It's a real language that's used in a lot of different things. So there's a lot of generic Groovy that you can learn to pick some of that up. And it'll give you an understanding of the syntax and how you can use that. But just remember, at the end of the day, we're not programmers. We're writing scripts to run inside of an EPM environment. So I've seen some people use Groovy that came from a heavy programming background. They can write amazing scripts, but they're written the way that you would write an independent standalone application, not a business rule. Like, this script is going to run for 3 seconds. We don't need to spend 6 days optimizing memory usage. Although you should declare your variables with types. Don't just def all your variables. That's good practice, but it's a memory thing. A string variable is going to use a different amount of memory than an integer.
Yeah.
Knowing the difference between an integer and a double is important. Stuff like that. But yeah, I think just understanding some fundamentals is going to help. I know I didn't answer your question of how do you learn, but
So
I
yeah.
think it's important to have an understanding is the big piece.
Yeah. Oracle does have some hands-on tutorials that anybody can go through. It's free. It's out
Look
there.
at the sample scripts they provide are good too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
through the Groovy API docs. There's a lot of good sample scripts. There's a lot missing,
Yeah.
but the ones that are there are usually pretty good.
Yeah. Although
Yeah.
their documentation is, I mean, I don't want to say the word that I want to say, but it could be,
Lacking.
yeah, lacking. It could improve a lot. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you, I think Kyle's blog was into Hyperion, right?
Yeah, he changed it. It's now I think it's into Oracle now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even those, I think he has a series of around 40 different blogs on EPM, Groovy.
Yeah.
If you go through each one of them, you get to learn a lot just going through those examples.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah. Right.
I just
Okay,
wonder
I have
if Hyperion
last.
still comes up that way. I thought he changed it. Maybe it's a different URL.
I think it's both are existing, I believe.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get rid of the into Hyperion. It's just too good of a name.
Yeah.
Like the Hyperion Barbie is now the Oracle Barbie.
Yeah.
And by the way, Dan, if I'm not mistaken, he worked at Huron before,
He
right?
did, yes. Yeah. He worked here before I did, and he's now at Oracle. So
Yeah.
he's the ace. It's not an ace. Can't be an ace and work at Oracle at the same time.
Right.
But yeah, no, Kyle's he got into doing some work on Groovy before a lot of other people, and
Yeah.
kind of got the upper hand figuring out, and he dug in, committed himself to it, and that's why he's got the library of the right resources out there. Just he spent the time figuring it out. So
Right.
it's good
True.
stuff there.
Yeah.
And his trainings are well curated. It's not, just one guy talking at a camera for an hour. So
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's structured. There was like when initially Kyle put out the courses, you could get like the first 3 chapters free.
yeah.
So I had gone through the courses. It's well structured, well explained. It's pretty good. Yeah. Last question, Dan. Operational planning. I know that's in the horizon. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's going to be a game changer for what we do. We're taking relational databases and directly connecting them into planning. It's going to give us, you're going to get an automated database that you can really build out yourself. So when you get it, it's supposed to come with 2 databases. One is kind of structured towards what planning needs, and then one's a little bit more open.
Yeah.
But you have the ability to bring in large amounts of data directly into EPM,
Right.
connect those to a cube, and then, drive your data off of that. It also brings in some different dashboarding capabilities. I haven't been hands-on with it. I think it's going to be really cool. I've seen some demos. I've seen some live demos. I've been able to kind of interact with it verbally.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to drive a whole new set of use cases into planning with what we can do with AEW in there. So
Yeah, I believe so too. I think they're integrating Oracle Apex into.
yes, yeah, it's got a whole Apex front end, or an
Yeah.
Apex, depending who you ask, front end. So you're going to be able to use all the dashboarding functionality that comes with that
Right.
within planning, which is, it's drag and drop, build your own interface type stuff.
Yeah.
with that and the autonomous data warehouse that's sitting on the back end, all of that dropped into planning in the same license that we're already using. It's almost surprising that Oracle is going to be throwing that into the enterprise license because it's like a whole new product. Like there's a
Yeah,
lot
true.
going in there.
Yeah, true.
So I think it's going to be a new skill set. We're all going to have to figure out how to use it for a couple of months, but I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with it. And I've already had use cases where I'm talking with clients. I'm like, we had operational planning right now. We could do that right now.
Right, yeah.
But instead, we're doing things a little bit different, maybe setting up an ADW, connecting, using the integration agent, stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is going to, give us the ability to load those large data sets without having to go back out somewhere else to get them. So
Yeah.
we'll see
I'm
what
looking forward
functionality
to,
comes, what's their day one versus at the end of year one.
yeah,
But it's going to be great either way.
yeah. I've worked on Apex, so I'm especially looking forward to that in
Yeah, yeah, it'll be good. I
Yeah.
can't see anything going wrong.
And then you mentioned that you have seen some demos and such. Are those demos like available to public or?
Those were not, no. So we had a lot of it came from partner training. So Oracle invited a lot of the partners out, and we were there. I think I want to say it was Mark Seawald was demoing it live, and hey, click on that button. What does that do? So it was nice to be able to kind of point them to where to click instead of just watching the scripted demo. Is the big difference there.
Right, right.
There's probably some public demos. I would check Customer Connect, Cloud Connect. There's probably some demos recorded out there. So
Okay, cool.
if not, there will be some in the next 6 months for sure.
We are getting Muthu on a podcast
Okay.
third week of February.
Make
So
sure
I've
you
asked,
prep all the hard questions.
yeah, so I've asked Muthu, can you demo operational planning? So we'll
Yeah.
see.
No, ask him in advance so we can make sure he's got it ready.
I did. I
Yeah.
did send an email asking all this.
Nice. That'll be good. I'll look forward to that one.
Yeah, yeah. All right. I have one more question.
Yep.
It's like I'm the question guy today.
This is your last question. Your one more question.
I should say last question of this session.
Billing by the hour here.
Okay, so when you talk about EPM, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is, yeah, it's just a planning budgeting system, right? How would you explain EPM to let's say an ERP person? Because I know I get this question a lot from the ERP folks saying, yeah, it's just a planning and budgeting system. So how do you tell EPM to somebody on an
Yeah.
ERP side?
So when I'm talking to the ERP team, why do I need EPM? It's the analytics. So ERP is a great place to capture and rigidly support data that is built around one framework that's probably going to change once every 8 years. And you're going to have limited access who can get in there. You're going to have limited what you can do with that data. It's just ERP is I mean it's your record, it's system of record. EPM is your place to take that system of record data, and FC obviously is going to be, it's a SOX compliant application where you're doing consolidation. But you bring that data into a freeform application, a planning application, bring it into NARCs or ARCs, and you can do all sorts of other stuff with it that you can't necessarily do in an environment where it's your source of record. So you can do analytics, you can do data manipulation, you can do data modeling,
Yeah.
forecasting, prediction. You can just do a lot of stuff with it with very little risk. If you screw up a forecast and you accidentally over forecast the company by 200% in a scenario model, you look at it and go, oh, that's wrong, and you delete it. If you go into ERP and you accidentally overbook the company by 200%, your CFO gets fired tomorrow. So there's a little bit different kind of approach to that. So I kind of looked at it as like it's the playground for finance, and it's obviously bigger than finance. It's operations have the ability to use it. You can do anything in there. Seeing people build fantasy football models in EPM. It's kind of like I like to think of it as like the playground for finance. You can do whatever you can think of, you can do in EPM. You're not limited to the structure of the ERP.
Right.
And when I say EPM, I'm obviously thinking of planning because FC is boring. That's my opinion. I once had somebody break it down to me, they were a planning consultant. They got forced to do an FC application, or they had the opportunity to work in an FC application. And 6 months later, I asked him, like, what do you think of this? And like, well, planning is like a puppy. You get a puppy, you can play with it, you can teach it tricks, and you have a good time with the puppy. FC is like a lizard. It's really good at being a lizard. You try and play with it, it might bite you. Right? So FC is great. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's got a very specific set of things that it does, and it does a great job at those, but it's not the puppy.
Yeah, true. I can agree to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's everything I had to ask. So
Awesome. All right, now you guys can ask questions. Rune's done. Oh,
okay.
all right.
All right. Dan, thank you very much for taking
No,
time and being with us.
thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It
Yeah.
was good to be able to see everybody and chat. And I said next time I'm out in Toronto, if I'm there for more than 4 hours, I'll let you guys know. I could be there for like half a day, so there's not time to get together. But it'd be good to see everybody in person and go out, get lunch or dinner or something. So
Yeah.
That would be
I'll let you know
great.
when we get there.
All right.
Thanks so much, Dan. Yeah. Demo
All
was
right.
great.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for all insights.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good one.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.